Hello everyone. This is Coffee here, my first video. Um, I just have I just have a few clear insights about ego, and I think it's important that we touch down on this because I just experienced what ego actually looks like and how it can absolutely destroy someone. As even if there's someone just like that everyone loves, um, your self-image isn't the most important thing. So, understanding that is probably one of the most important things that you can recognize early on. And that's because protecting your image is not the same as protecting your inner self, because protecting your inner self is protecting how you feel, and your inner self is much more different from your outer image that you project in the real world, in public. And if you ask your closest friends, they'll tell you that, well, you're not who you show to others in public, right? So, what does protecting your image actually mean to you, to me? That means doing anything and everything to, let's just say, doing anything and everything to not look like an idiot, like just not look like an actual idiot. And I've actually experienced this in the past months, most notably whenever I joined my soccer team, but I'm going to talk about that later in the video if you stick around. But protecting your image is, like I said, not as important as a lot of the things you could be doing. I mean, whenever you have this pride that you have, it's gonna destroy you mentally. It kind of just breaks you down into this person that you don't even know anymore, and it's just like, what I mean by that, I know I'm being very vague here. What I mean by a person you don't understand anymore, it's someone that's so selfish, someone so above other people when they're really not, And you may be wondering, like, or you may be thinking in your day-to-day life, there's always that guy, or gal, but they're usually very invested in themselves, and they think the whole world revolves around them. Doesn't, right? At the end of the day, we're not the main characters. I mean, you're free to feel that way. I mean, you aren't and are at the same time, but that's a topic for a different video. But at the end of the day, it's not always just about you, right? So protecting your image means not only protecting yourself, but other people from your own pride, right? So, and then we go into why people even do this in the first place. I mean, it all goes back to, well, like, old times, like your most primal feelings. Like, you feel threatened when you look bad in front of people. It's just science, okay? It happens. But when that becomes a habit, it just instinctually it compounds, right? So if you're doing it for maybe months on end, you're gonna start feeling like that every single day, and it's just gonna weigh you down. And instead of ego helping you in a good way, which is a thing, it affects you negatively, right? So how does protecting your image stop growth or creativity? So protecting your image isn't all about pride, right? It's also about just, sometimes you might have like social anxiety, or you may feel pressured to prove yourself, if that makes sense. I know people get peer pressured into doing things they don't want to do, but that is a little different from this, because you're doing it out of pride, not out of desperation, right? So you're just trying to make yourself look good. You're not necessarily putting others down, but it's almost as bad as that. The reason people are so afraid of this is because, psychologically speaking, look, I don't have a degree in psychology, but if you go back to our most primal state, right? When we feel bad or look bad in front of a lot of people, we feel like threatened, and that right there is what makes us feel like we want to rage, right? Or you're scared, right? It triggers your fight or flight response, and that's the main reason people are so afraid of looking bad, weak, or untalented, etc. But and there's really nothing you could do about that. I mean, you can do something about stopping your pride from getting the best of you, but sometimes it happens. You slip in the hallway, or you stutter in class, or it's fine. It happens. We all make mistakes. But letting that ego get the best of you is the worst thing to do in this situation, right? So why we're gonna go into how does protecting your image stop growth or creativity. So protecting your image stops your growth a lot, and the reason why is because if you're anything like me, your pride comes in the form of, hey, I'm better than everyone else. Hey, I don't need to try because, well, I'm better than this. But that is the worst thing imaginable now that I'm looking back on it, and it just makes me realize how much of a jerk you could actually be once you get into that feeling of pride. And the reason it stops your growth is because you're actually, like I said, you're not trying, right? And you start viewing yourself as better than others, which means that you don't have the need, the hunger to get better or grow or anything like that, for that matter. So you naturally just go into almost a dormant state of just being there and thinking in your head that you're better than everyone. And I mean, there is something definitely wrong with that, I'm not gonna lie. But you definitely come across people like that in your life, and now that you're looking back on it, you feel hypocritical because you've become the one thing that you've always hated, right? An example of this, I would say, is okay. So an example of this was at my school, I had a soccer team, and right, I was training so hard for tryouts, and the thing was, I made B team, and that really, really, really ticked me off. And I knew I was better, and I knew I could make A team. I could have done it, really, if I had tried so much harder. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with thinking you could have done better. The thing was, I started developing a habit of disregarding others on my team, especially on the B team, because I felt I was better than them and that I could have made A team. And what this led to was me underperforming in games because I didn't really want to try because I thought I was better than that. And what that led to was scoring no goals, only had like 1 or 2 assists, and I was constantly trying to look for attention. Another thing I will say is that I also led other people to develop this kind of habit, and whenever I look back on it, I'm looking at their lives, and it's not looking very good because they never got out of that habit because they feel so salty and desperate for some sort of validation, right? And that's all what protecting your image really is. It's really just pride, right? At the end of the day, it's pride. It's all it is. And a way you could stop that is just realizing how grateful you could be for the things that you have, like your mom, your dad. And I know you've heard that so many times, right? But if have you really ever done it though? Is what I'm saying. Maybe you've done it like half, like have you ever really tried to be thankful for the things in your life? Like, I'm sure you've done it like sarcastically, but have you really ever tried to be grateful? And if you haven't, then maybe that's a problem of which is rooted in your pride. But I digress. So, the next thing I will say is that ego can actually help you improve if you use it correctly. This is something that I was taught by a certain show that a lot of you may know of, a manga called Blue Lock, right? And this show delved so deeply into what I thought ego meant and what it actually is, because pride and ego are two sides of the same coin, right? Pride is whenever you feel that you're better, or not necessarily, you're proud, that being the root word, of yourself and your accomplishments and everything that you stand for and represent. And ego is being confident in your ability to an unsettling extent. And what that can do is make people better at whatever they're doing. Like, I have seen so many people, especially people I meet like at my local soccer field, some people that are new to soccer, and they just immediately pick up the game and they have incredible aptitude for soccer, and it's just like, wow, how did they get good so fast? And it all comes down to that balance, right? That balance between ego and self-respect and respect for others, right? But if you take that into account, then you should be fine. What you could do to stop this is, like I said earlier, you could try to be more grateful for the things you have. I know ever since I started doing this, I started being more happy. I smiled so much more. And when I really started to appreciate what I have, and I mean really appreciate it, like not sarcastically or some sort of fake deep connection, but really enjoying and being grateful for what I have, that made it all the more better, and I started seeing better results. My growth stopping. My growth continued. I started feeling more alive again, right? And that's the thing with this ego and pride thing. If you overdo it, it just makes you less happy. It doesn't make you feel as alive as if you were grateful or anything like that. So, but I think the main thing here is that you should try to stop caring more about appearances and more about who someone is on the inside. So, like, take you for example. I don't know you. I don't know your name. If you told me your name, then I would probably get to know you afterwards. But you wouldn't be able to tell me who you really are, right? Like, I don't even think you know who you are, if I'm being honest. But you could attach like things to yourself, like your complexion or your hair type or anything, but you wouldn't be able to tell me who you actually are, right? But if you just spend some time to take a look at yourself and other people, like on a past the surface, past the outside, and past their image that they present to everyone else, you'll start to see like what genuine feeling actually looks like, if that makes any sense. And the last thing I'll say is that if everyone stopped guarding their image, like it was just like stop putting their image on a pedestal, I think people could grow, like, as a society. We could mature exponentially if we just put aside our pride, our ego, to just help each other out and grow and mature. Then we would definitely be ranks above where we are right now. But on an individual level, that it really just starts with you. You could start doing that today. You could start listing out 10 things you're grateful for. You could start journaling your thoughts. You could start treating others better. You could start treating yourself better, right? But at the end of the day, I'm just a freshman with a lot of things to say. But if you really take all of this, what I said in this video, into account, I think your life could be much better. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.